Hello everyone, a very warm welcome from Santiago de Chile. What you see behind me is Costanera Center, the tallest building not only in Chile but in the entire South America, which is, I think, a kind of a nice introduction and nice symbol of what Chile is really all about, which is the economy. Chile is a very interesting country in many regards, from geography to football, but economy is really what discerns it from other countries in the region. And two basic things or observations that I have is, first of all, Chile of course has a very different profile of economy, very different profile than most economies of the region. While many countries in the entire Latin America were following the kind of a socialist model of economy, Chile went the neoliberal path, the Chicago School of Business or Chicago Boys path, if you will. And the second thing, much more interesting I think, is that Chile has kind of what I would call a sexy economy. And what I mean by this is Chile produces many things that we enjoy love using day by day. Chile is, for example, a huge producer of seafood, including salmon, which it is the second largest producer of in the world, second only to Norway. It also is consistently, year by year, among the top 10 producers of wine. In 2014, Chile produced over 1 million tons of wine and was number 8 in terms of largest producers of wine in the world. Another thing that is big in Chile is forestry, and by forestry I mean usually the wood panels, the things that we use to furnish our homes. And really no wonder, if you look around here, Santiago, around the trees and green spaces, hills and green spaces, trees is all you see. Now, Chile in 2014 had the per capita GDP in US dollars 15.7 thousand, compared to Poland 13.6 thousand, Poland is my country, Uruguay 16.3 thousand, and Slovakia 18.0 thousand. I'm only that smart because I read from a paper here. Now, this really gives you an idea of which league Chile is playing in. It's still far away from the most developed countries in terms of GDP per capita, but it is among the kind of I would say middle class of Europe, if you will. Now, Chile also has the highest credit rating among all Latin American nations. It's on the level of China or Japan, and it is it's better than South Korea, kind of another indicator of which league Chile is playing in. But there is a part of the economy where Chile does play in the world's first league, and it is economic freedom. In the Index of Economic Freedom, a kind of a ranking that measures all the liberties of economy, the lack of punitive taxes, property protection and property rights, limited government, trade agreements, Chile ranks as one of the top nations in the world, and the only nation in the entire Americas, next to Canada, to reach top 10 in that ranking. It is designed as mostly free economically. Chile also has a range of very successful and fruitful trade agreements with different countries in the world, the most famous of which is the United States-Chile trade agreement, signed in 2004, bless you, which forecasts that within 12 years, so until January 2016, Chile and America will lift any trade tariffs and any duties on the trade between the two nations. Well, how does this translate into real life? Well, let's see. Chile has the average life expectancy of 82 for women and 78 for men, more than the US and highest in South America. It also has the poverty rates at 0.8% of population living for less than $1.5 per day. That's 80 out of every 1,000 people. It should be 0, but it's still the lowest in the continent. And 1.9%, so 19 out of 100 people, 1.9 of every 100 people. So 2 people out of every 100, more or less, live for less than $2 per day. Another brand that I think is interesting because it kind of bypasses all the macroeconomic indicators. It goes directly into social and environmental progress, the SPI, the Social Progress Index. Here, Chile performs exactly as we would expect it to perform, which is on the level of the European middle class nations like Hungary or Poland or Czech Republic, and still a little bit further from other South American nations, except for Argentina, where the Social Progress Index is pretty high as well, continent-wise. The Social Progress Index is, if you were to describe it in one sentence, that would be how the countries respond and provide for the social and environmental needs of the population. Remember that the World Bank treats Chile as highly developed society, economically highly developed, which is the only case in Latin America. However, and this is kind of a big however, if you look at the IHDI, which is the Inequality Human Development Index, the index that measures the country's human development, which is not used because of the inequality, which is kind of a lost potential, Chile is doing absolutely terribly. It's on the levels of Serbia and Bosnia in Europe, if you will, which no one really calls developed nations. It's way below Uruguay and Argentina here in South America, and it's also way below my home country, Poland. So if we have to encapsulate the Chilean economic problem in just one word, it's inequality. Think about it for a country that is called mostly free economically and has a range of very liberal economic solutions and economic policies for corporations and individual citizens. This result of the inequality index is actually very terrible and pretty sad. One thing that I found fascinating in the Chilean economic landscape is that with all the goodies that come from the Chilean economy, like low tariffs and property protection, is that it isn't regarded as a good place to run business. And what we mean is not a corporation or a bank, we mean small business. If we look at the ranks, Chile is actually placed below many of the countries that are looking up to Chile as an example of economic progress. Countries like Peru or Colombia or Mexico, and even my home country, Poland, where we really evaluate our home country as pretty bad for starting a business, for small entrepreneurs, for family businesses. My suspicion is that the main reason is the red tape. Many people coming to Chile call it the country of permits. There's always one more permit, there's always one more permission to get, there's always one more office to visit to get this permission, and the red tape goes on and worsens the conditions of running, again, a small business in a country. So what do we make out of all these rankings and economic indicators of Chile? I think there are three issues to be remembered. First of all, Chile is a golden kid of South America, but it doesn't mean it is without huge problems to be tackled in the future. I think the major challenge here is that really Chile doesn't have any country nearby geographically that it can look up to. Like, for example, my home country Poland has Germany nearby. It used to be a very bad deal historically, now it's a good deal. Chile only has the United States that it looks up to and follows certain economic policies. But in terms of the continent itself, South America, it doesn't really have any local competitors that it could maybe look up to or learn something from. Second of all, what happened in Chile is that rapid economic growth wasn't really accompanied by the social growth, by the improvement of the social structure or the social tissue. In other words, it was a development that benefited some, but not everyone. A little bit like what the leftist economists, the left-wing economists or the socialists criticize about the Chicago School of Business style or the Milton Friedman style. This is kind of exactly what happened in Chile, and I think it is a bit of a problem because at the end it ends up harming the society as such. And then The third thing, which is very positive for Chile, is regardless of the human development factors, inequality problems, problems with the ease of running business and economic liberty and everything that we talked about, one thing that Chile really has and will probably have in the future is that it's a very stable country. It's a very predictable country. As compared to Argentina or Colombia or even Brazil, Chile has one absolute indisputable value in its economic situation and political situation. It is very, very stable, which might seem a bit boring sometimes, just like democracy is pretty boring, but it is a big value that cannot be stressed enough. Last but certainly not the least, if you like what I had to say about Chile, make sure to subscribe to my channel, to leave the comment, to like or dislike the video, and let me know if you ever made it to the country and enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks and respect to all Chilean people I met during the 2 weeks I spent there, and good luck at the Copa América 2015, Copa América 2014. Hasta luego.